think the American people recognize that we must keep government open.
We have a disagreement about the wall. You were called 20 times to shut down the government. You say, I want to shut down the government. We don't.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
Absolutely.
fair enough.
And
We
I am
disagree.
proud, and I'll
We
tell you what,
disagree.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck.
For people that are worried about paying their rent checks, government employees right now, people that are worried about bill collectors, would you ask those companies, those landlords, to kind of go easy on?
I think they will. I think
but
they will.
I'm sorry. Would
No,
you ask?
I think that happens. You know, hey, I've been a landlord for a long time. I've been in the real estate business for a long time. When you see there are problems out there, difficulties out there, you know, the people are all good for the money. They work with people.
Somebody up there in the hills telling them that we're all good and we don't need any help.
This has a huge impact on me, and in the next few weeks, I'm going to be struggling.
This is my third shutdown in 7 years. I am a payer of child support, but I can't make that payment. The response to that is they put recommendations, call your landlord, ask if you could mow the lawn for rent. I'm surprised there wasn't a suggestion to prostitute yourself on there.
Luckily, this month we had a couple friends step forward to help us out.
If I don't have my rent in by the 1st of next month, I would be evicted automatically. I can't even go to my family. Mr. McConnell, my family is with federal government.
He's not in the cloakroom, he's not in the Capitol, he's not in the Russell Building, he's not in the floor of the Senate, and 800,000 people don't have their paychecks. So where's Mitch?
Well, I don't know where Mitch is, but we're right here. I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
And this is NewsRap Live at 5. Well, we've had a couple of very interesting breaking stories that we haven't had a lot of time to deal with because one broke while we were sitting here.
Like 5 minutes ago it started breaking. And
like 5 minutes ago. But the first story that broke was last night, and it was a BuzzFeed report that was, we thought, a gigantic bombshell.
Well, it was when it came out.
It was when it came out. Let's show you what it was.
Bombshell new report from BuzzFeed News claims President Trump personally instructed Cohen to lie to Congress about the president's business dealings in Moscow. The revelations were reportedly discovered during the special counsel's investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 election through Trump Organization documents and multiple interviews with witnesses. Cohen then reportedly verified the information in interviews with the special counsel. Cohen has previously said he committed crimes for the president out of loyalty.
I gave loyalty to someone who truthfully does not deserve loyalty.
He was trying to hide what you were doing, correct?
Correct.
Well, that was the story.
Yep.
And it got a lot of noise and a lot of attention.
And right before we came on, I said, let's keep a device on just in case of breaking news.
You did do that. Here's the device. And let me put it this way. If that story was true, that probably was the ball game.
That was the smoking gun.
That was the smoking gun. That would have clearly been
the end of this presidency.
The end of the presidency. I am saying it in this wonderfully qualified way because just as we came on the air, there was an announcement literally from Robert Mueller's office, which reads as follows. We didn't have time to get it on the graphics, so I'll just read it to you. Quote, BuzzFeed's description of specific statements to the special counsel's office and characterization of documents and testimony obtained by this office regarding Michael Cohen's congressional testimony are not accurate, said special counsel spokesman Peter Carr in a release statement. Now, CNN also said Carr's statement is extremely rare. The special counsel's office has almost never commented on published stories. Now, you and I were talking in the green room.
That's right.
And my big concern about this story...
And we talked several times today about this. Actually.
That's right. And my big concern about this story was that this was the first time that the source was on Mueller's side of the fence. They have been as tight a ship as you could possibly imagine. And so the fact that this was Mueller's side of the fence gave me pause.
Right, because leaks don't come out of there. Information
That's
doesn't
right.
come out of there.
Now, I also think that the statement was extraordinarily hedged. If you look at it with my lawyer's eye, and you take it word for word.
Break it down.
I'll break it down, because what they're saying is, they're saying that BuzzFeed's description of specific statements to the special counsel's office, they don't say the whole story is wrong.
Well, what they don't say is that Michael Cohen did not lie under the president's direction. Am I correct?
I don't see that.
So they're saying that certain statements about, and that could mean they got it wrong about what he lied about. That could mean he didn't lie.
Mm-hmm. It could mean that Trump didn't direct him to lie.
Exactly.
It could mean almost anything. So I would say we're back to square one.
On that we are.
Yeah.
On that we are.
Yeah. I would say we are. I mean, it was a fascinating
But
story.
There's something else you can draw from that.
Sure.
If they would go through the trouble to make this statement to, let's say, clarify, and to say, okay, this didn't happen this way. Some of these statements are incorrect.
And that's kind of how I'm reading it. The characterization of the statements and the characterization of the testimony is not
Have they
accurate.
ever done that before when people have reported things that Mueller is looking into?
I don't think so.
So there's something that you could kind of draw from that. I mean, when it really gets heavy and somebody gets it wrong, they're willing to say, that's not what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Albeit, like you said, kind of hedged.
Right.
So then I would say that everything else that it's been reporting, I would have to assume that everything else they've reported on, that people have said that they investigated, is accurate.
It might well be, or is not
doesn't
important
raise to that
enough to
level.
push back on.
Or doesn't raise to that level.
Yeah.
So a lot of people commented on this. I mean, Adam Schiff had a quote.
He did.
First, let's look at...
And the quote, by the way, is still relevant.
Right.
Because if this happened, it's a very big deal. Right. But the if now is a little stronger than it was
well, now the onus is on
15 minutes ago.
Now the onus is on BuzzFeed.
It really is. It really is. Here's Adam's quote. The allegation that the President of the United States may have suborned perjury before our committee in an effort to curtail the investigation and cover up his business dealings with Russia is among the most serious to date. We will do what's necessary to find out if it's true.
But, you know, this can easily be resolved. I mean, the way that I understand it, Cohen is expected to testify before Congress or speak before Congress.
But not on anything relating to Russia.
But, as you and I discussed, can't they ask him in a very general way if he was ever ordered to lie before Congress?
I would think they can.
Or under testimony by
I
the
would
president?
think they can, without getting into the substance.
Or what he was asked to lie about.
What the lie was, or why he was asked to lie, which would invade the territory of the Russia investigation. Why couldn't they simply say, were you ever asked by the president or told by the president to lie to Congress?
I'll tell you
about a material
Now, I'll tell you
matter.
I'll tell you what I would do from a reporter's point of view. If I was BuzzFeed, I would call that source, and I would say, turn on your computer, your phone, whatever you use, and turn on CNN. What does this mean? Why are they saying this?
Exactly.
And you need to clear this up for me
right
by tomorrow morning for my follow-up story. Or I'm going to have to go live with who told me what, because now my reputation's at stake. So I'm going to move it back to your reputation if you intentionally lied to me. That's how you handle it. You move it back to the source. This is who told me. This is what I was told.
So does that lift the confidentiality of the source? Is there a journalistic rule that says you no longer have to hold to the confidentiality?
The source is someone who tells you the truth.
Okay.
So once you try to play me or once you lie to me, you're no longer my source. You violated the agreement. The agreement works where if you tell me the truth, I give you anonymity.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't tell me the truth, just like with Mueller, we no longer have a deal. And
Right.
now I'm putting everything, I can put everything out in the open.
Right.
And this is how we got here. Now, what did BuzzFeed say? I think they had a quote. We have a quote from BuzzFeed. Let's check this out. And you know what? Before we go there, forgive us as we work through it, because this is something that literally right before we came on the air, we were on our phones and Barry was on his tablet.
That's right.
Trying to figure this out.
Well, I think it's this quote that they were pushing back on
Right.
that the Mueller's office was pushing back on. That the special counsel's office learned about Trump's directive for Cohen to lie to Congress through interviews with multiple witnesses from the Trump organization and internal company emails, text messages, and a cache of other documents. Cohen then acknowledged those instructions during his interviews with that office. Now, if we go back, let's keep that up for a moment.
'Cause I saw something there. I think you're going to key on what I just saw. You want the second card or the first?
The card that we just showed.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That special count. Okay, so they said BuzzFeed's description of specific statements to the special counsel's office and characterization of documents and testimony obtained by this office are not accurate.
So they may not have internal company emails, text messages, and a cache of other documents. It may be that Michael Cohen said, I was instructed to lie before Congress.
It may be. It may be that the witnesses were not part of the Trump organization.
Yeah.
There are a lot of possibilities. They didn't say that the conclusion was wrong.
Yeah, they didn't say Michael Cohen.
They said that the description of the statements, which I didn't really see the description of the statements unless they mean that's the conclusion, that the president told them to lie.
Well, I would say this. If they were clearing it up that Michael Cohen is not claiming that Donald Trump instructed him to lie, they would say something more going to that. This statement does not go to that. It does not go to what Cohen said specifically. It goes more towards, I'm inclined to believe that they don't have the cache of documents, the specific text messages, emails, and those things that maybe they were describing.
It's actually a very unclear statement.
Of course. Of course.
But
because they're still trying not to give anything up.
That's right.
They're trying to clear it up without giving it up. But what Trump will say is, cleared, no collusion.
That's right.
That's what he will text, and he's probably
think
tweeted
that's right.
that already, is where we're going.
Well, guys, join the conversation. We're right here. So give us a call, but particularly go to Pasadena Media, go to our Facebook page. And, of course, you guys on Facebook get us for longer. We stick around for another 10, 15 minutes after the show. Like us. Share us, comment.
We had a whole thing last week.
Do whatever you want to do, but get involved. Join this conversation. Right. I think it's time to look at what's going on locally.
All right, let's do that.
Let's do that.
The Pasadena Tournament of Roses has confirmed Laura Farber as the president for the 2019-2020 Tournament of Roses year. Farber announced the theme for the coming year as the Power of Hope. Farber is the third woman to head the tournament, and as a native of Argentina, is the first Latina to hold the position.
Mary Jean O'Connor, a homeless woman, was charged with the murder of 75-year-old Jerry Douglas, a Pasadena resident. The victim was found dead in her home on the 200 block of South Madison Avenue on December 17th after a welfare check was requested by her daughter. Initial reports indicate that officers suspected foul play and that the victim may have been strangled.
There are a lot of positive things happening in our city, and the passage of Measures I&J is just one of them.
Pasadena Mayor Terry Tornick delivered the annual State of the City address last night from Pasadena High School's new gym. The tone of the address was generally positive. Once again, the focus was on finances. The mayor said the influx of funds from Measure I&J will go a long way to improving the city's position over the next 5 years. Last September, Time magazine published a cover story featuring teachers across the country and the hardships they face in order to do their jobs each day. Teachers' unions were threatening strikes across the country.
But I'm telling you right now, this 1% and 2% is a slap in their face, and I'm telling you, we're sitting on a powder keg.
That powder keg exploded in Los Angeles as the Los Angeles Teachers Union rejected the last offer from LAUSD.
This is about the fact that I have 42 kids in my first period class. My smallest class is 39 kids. I'm done with this.
The union and the district have been negotiating for nearly 2 years on a contract and have not been able to agree on terms. CNN reports that the district has lost over $97 million in revenues due to attendance drops during the strike this week. Both sides went back to negotiations Thursday. The union wants more school staffing, higher salaries, and smaller class sizes. LAUSD Superintendent Austin Buettner says the district simply can't afford to meet the union's demands.
Now, you've been involved a little bit with this Mary Jane O'Connor murder.
O'Connor story.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the Weekly covered her probably 10 years ago in a story on the welfare system when she was losing her kids. And then, obviously, when her name came back up after the 17th, it was a shocker. Now, what we saw in our briefs was just pretty much a basic kind of who, what, where, when kind of thing. What's really kind of shocking in this is what is the alleged motive. So, according to what I've been told, the daughter of the victim, Jerry Douglas, adopted one of Mary Jean O'Connor's kids. Now, that much, no alleged, that's true. And police are still investigating if that's part of the motive there. Maybe she was looking for a kid, allegedly, or that's what's going on. Mary's had a lot of problems over the past 10 years. When I did, Carl Kozlowski covered these stories. At that point, she had 2 kids. Now she has 5. She lost all 5 of them.
And she's homeless.
And she's homeless. They arrested her in a trailer in North Hollywood, pulled her out of her trailer. But, you know, Carl's talked to her a couple times from the jail, and most of it doesn't make sense. You know, what we can kind of get out of it, it's a tragedy, you know, all the way around. I mean, she doesn't have her kid. She's been deemed unfit, and now, you know, you have a murder charge. She's facing 25 to life. And then on the other side, the other family has lost a parent, and children have lost a grandparent. So all around, you know, it's a big tragedy here, but it's something that I'm
So again, what is the relationship between the two?
So Jerry Douglas, the victim, is the mother of the lady who adopted Mary O'Connor's son.
Okay.
And
so this is not a random home invasion.
No, this is not a random, I picked this house kind of thing. And like I said, it's still unclear if it's just I'm going to get you or I'm looking for my kids and she didn't give up the information. But that's where the investigation is now. And we do have a comment.
We do. What is your take on the teacher strike? And what do you think the city will spend the money on? What do you think the schools will spend the money on?
And that's Measure I and Measure J, I assume, on the last one.
Yeah.
You want to take the top one first?
Yeah, I'll take the top one. I mean, I think that the strikers have to be very careful at this point.
Because,
you know, we had a situation in West Virginia, and we had another situation, I think it was in Nevada.
Talking Red for Ed.
Right. Where there was tremendous support for the teachers. And I think the reason for that was because the teachers, even though they were striking for money, they seemed to be striking more for the students.
Right.
And that got great media attention, great media coverage. I don't know if, now UTLA is calling it Strike for Kids. That's good.
Of course.
But they have to be very careful. I've heard too many statements that are too broad-based. For example, going after the whole kind of charter school system.
Right.
And I think that could damage them.
I think if they stay with schools with class sizes,
exactly,
things that will improve education
and staffing and counselors and we
programs,
need exactly,
librarians, school nurses,
and their raise. I mean, they've got to have a raise. Except that the big difference is, and I was doing a little reading on this. The big difference is that teachers at West Virginia were making like $40,000.
Yeah, and LA is way above that.
LA is above the median income.
Right.
Well, so it's a little hard to have the bleeding hearts bleed.
Right.
For someone who's making 75 grand, you know, and the median income is, I think, 70 or 71.
I think even consider the Red for Ed movement.
Yeah.
West Virginia, then it goes to Nevada. It landed in Arizona. I think Washington, now LA. I mean, a lot of the teachers in these movements, I mean, these school districts are realizing we can get what we want.
Right.
Simply put, there is money there. We just have to fight for it. We can't get what we want. Now, in Newsom's budget last Friday, he wants to give $80 billion for education, which is a definite increase than before. So measure it out. I think there's some hope there. From that, they definitely need the raise. Like you said, class sizes are going to be an issue.
Yeah.
But locally, Pasadena's in negotiations for a raise. And when they, despite all their issues, Peter Dreier was on talking about that, to cut, and they had to cut $10 million, the county told them to be careful about giving raises. So now the question becomes, can they even get to where they need to be money-wise? And they're talking class sizes. They're talking the same thing. So it's just what's going on in this industry now, in education.
I think those are really important points, and of course, you know, there could definitely be a spillover effect from LA, and I think we have to be alert to that. Although there is money now. I mean, you know, Measure J,
and Measure I,
and Measure I. I mean, together they're putting some money.
And there were more than 100 teachers cut to pass this budget.
But teachers have been told for so long that there's no money, and at some point that dam's going to break.
Of course, and it may be breaking right now.
And it has to. I think the other problem is I just don't think the union likes Buettner very much.
Well,
I honestly think they see Buettner as one of those
he's an
people
outsider.
That's an outsider. He's not a teacher.
Not an educator.
He's right. They see him as conservative, I think, to a certain extent. That he's into privatization.
Well,
let's
do it like
now.
this.
He's not as bad as all that. I don't think. From what I've seen of him, I don't think he is.
Well, let me ask this.
You know, like a guy from Texas.
You led SAG for a while, right?
Yeah.
How many years?
7.
Has there ever been a non-actor, non-entertainer to lead SAG?
No.
If one came in to lead SAG, what would your thought be?
Well, but SAG is a different situation.
Well, just give me your thought. What would your thought be if some guy came in?
Well, it couldn't happen. You have to be an actor.
Okay, so you have to be an actor to lead SAG.
Right, but it is a different situation than school superintendent, and I'll explain why. Because the president of SAG is the public face of SAG.
Of course.
Or SAG-AFTRA now. They don't run the place.
Right.
Who runs the place? It's the executive director, who's never an actor.
Okay.
The executive director is a professional lawyer or a negotiator or union official. They don't. So you have that. It's like having a mayor and a city manager.
Well, it's like PUSD has a superintendent that does not run the district, but the school board does.
Exactly. So the question then is, what is Buettner's duty? What's his involvement, you know, in all of that?
You know, I think they should have tried to get an educator. I understand I don't know how this guy landed there, but I think they can't go wrong finding an educator to do it.
Well, now Garcetti is weighing in. Now, I don't know if he's sitting at the table or if it's his people in the mayor's office who are trying to work it out. But, I mean, they were up till, you know, the wee hours last night trying to figure all of it out. We do have one last question. What do you think the city will spend the
INJ?
money on? What do you think the schools will spend the money on? I hope.
I think the schools are going to spend it on programs. I think that
I
the
hope
people
programs.
Said,
I hope staffing.
I think in the polling, the people said they didn't want them to spend it on salaries.
Right.
So probably programs. I think I know we had a pie chart during the briefs as far as what the mayor said at the state of the city, but I think you're going to see part of it go to public safety.
Yeah.
As far as citywide, and I think you're going to see it go to programs again. I mean, it costs money to run a city, and that's what it's going to go to.
And the school money?
Programs.
Not salaries.
Probably a lot of special ed. And to Emmanuel's point, I think, yes, they will fix the streets and the sidewalks. So the outcome of this strike will set the tone for all districts in LA and Orange County. Entirely possible. I mean, we are at a point now where teachers have figured out, and teachers' unions have figured out, they have all the power.
That's right.
Because people are keeping their kids home now, which means that the district is not getting ADA money. So it's going to get resolved pretty quick.
But I want to see two things. I want teachers to be well paid, and I want the quality of education to be improved.
To be improved.
To be improved. Those are the two things. So if reducing class sizes will do it, and I think it does, I think all the evidence shows that it does, I want to see that happen.
Well, and also because my sister's a teacher and my mom was a teacher. When you do reduce class size, not only does the teacher do better, but the students do better.
Exactly.
So you have to look at it that both of them can benefit from that.
Exactly. Well, that's it for us. Actually, it's not, because we're going to stay on for another 10 minutes or so and be with you, and we're going to talk about the shutdown.
All right.
Because we haven't touched on that at all, and that's still going on, folks.
Some interesting news coming out of that.
That's right. So I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
And this has been NewsRap, live at 5. Be with us next week.
All right.